So I know it's not a competition, but I may have the worst terminal sprawl you've seen in a while. Right now, my personal OpenRig setup has more than 70 Claude and Codex agents, all building OpenRig on a single Mac Mini. Okay, they're not all just burning through tokens in parallel right now. Most of them are actually idle, but they're on, sitting at the terminal with context, a chat history, and most important, expertise on a specific corner of the code base they worked on. That's the part I care about. The traditional thinking is that terminal sprawl is just bad. It's hard to keep track of everything. So you should lean into short-lived agents, spin them up for a task, turn them off when they're done, start over from scratch each time. It's not binary though. The optimal approach is to use both short-lived and long-lived agents. See, an agent, it's not just something that can write code for you. In practice, agents can become a working memory surface that's intelligent. And once you have a lot of these surfaces, they start to form shapes like a topology. So the move is not to clean up terminal sprawl. The move is to weaponize terminal sprawl. Hey, my name is Mike. I built OpenRig because my agent setup kept turning into an agent topology, and I just wanted a simple way to save it. So the path here was pretty natural. I started in Cursor, then Claude Code showed up. Obviously, one Claude Code session was just not enough. I wanted the Claude that wrote the spec to talk to the Claude that was writing the code. At first, I just had them writing markdown files to each other. Then I started using tmux to just have them message each other directly. Taking me out of the loop unlocked a much faster workflow. That was like having Claude's agent teams feature like 9 months before Anthropic shipped it as a feature. Okay, so now I'm juggling 3 or 4 terminal tabs at this point. Then Codex CLI arrived, and Claude plus Codex became the obvious next step. Different models and different harnesses had different strengths, but they could share the same workspace. But here's the downside. The terminal sprawl got serious at this point. Once a project ramped up, I'd have like 10, 20 terminal tabs, huge productivity unlock. But working like this was extremely brittle and actually overwhelming. One reboot and my momentum would just crash. So the thing I wanted to save was not just these sessions. I wanted to save the shape of the team, which agents exist, what they know, where they sit, how they communicate, what kind of work they're good at doing together. That's what I mean by topology. So OpenRig is the save button for that layer. The intended way to use OpenRig is not that the human clicks every single button. The human needs observability and provides steering and judgment. Agents should actually drive most of the system themselves. So OpenRig has both sides. There's a CLI and control plane that the agents can reach for. Then there's a UI for you, the operator, where you can see the fleet, drill into a rig, inspect seats, and then jump all the way down to the terminal where the real work is happening. So that distinction actually matters a lot. The choice was intentional. The human-facing UI shouldn't be where all the work is happening. That's just a map. The work stays where it should, in the actual terminals where agents do work, using files, queues, specs, etc., to govern what they do. Claude Code is most powerful running in a terminal, just like the makers intended. And so it's where new features land first. You should try and ride this wave. Don't paddle against it by building a parallel UI for the agent work. So OpenRig stays in its lane. It tries to make that whole multi-agent operating surface coherent and repeatable. Okay, let's back up. Why call it a rig? Why OpenRig? Mostly because we already use the word harness, and there's already a good metaphor for this in rock climbing. So in rock climbing, one climbing harness is for one person. A rig is the structure that lets a group of climbers move together. So it's that gear that starts as a mess of anchors and ropes all over the ground, but once it's organized, it lets an entire team move together as a unit. So let's apply this metaphor to agents. A harness wraps one agent. Claude Code is an agent in a harness. Codex CLI is the same. But one harness is not the whole system. When multiple harnessed agents need to move together, the larger thing needs a name. The larger thing is the rig. The rig wraps the group into a named, repeatable topology. Once rig becomes a noun in your vocabulary, the rest of the system starts to compose around it. You've got topologies, you have workflows, workspaces that emerge, observability of the whole thing. Okay, so once you have multiple agents, messaging between them is just not enough. Work needs to move without disappearing into a terminal pane. Agents need a way to hand off context, externalize their state, tell the human when judgment is actually needed. So that's where the queue and handoff system comes in. That's built into OpenRig. It's intentionally lighter than your typical issue tracking or project management system because stuff like Jira, that's made for humans. I don't think agents would invent Jira if they started from scratch, in other words. They need something closer to the topology itself. So the deeper idea here is actually the context domain. Agents that work near the same problem start to share state. They keep each other grounded. They can survive each other's compactions. At that point, context engineering is not just one model context anymore. It's more like distributed context engineering or network context engineering, if you like that frame. You're basically arranging several focused context windows so the whole topology stays coherent. Okay, so why build here? Well, it's because I think topology is becoming a missing primitive for serious agent engineering. So plugins can get us part of the way there, but they aren't enough. Also, model diversity matters. Claude and Codex, they're just different. Good systems should use that instead of pretending one harness is going to own everything. Harness incentive matters too. So the makers of these harnesses, they want these to become the whole world. Developers still need a layer above the harness where multiple agent types can be arranged into one operating system. And the context domain idea, that really matters because advanced work is not just one giant context window. For example, with 20 agents, your context window isn't the 1 million tokens or whatever it is right now. It's effectively 20 million tokens. Context domains is how you engineer the use of that. And I don't want to overhype this, but I think there is still a ton of alpha in this pattern where you arrange agents into pods of hyper specialization so that they become elite at a narrow focus. OpenRig is built from the ground up with this exact pattern in mind. It has primitives for coordination, workflows, and the workspaces, all aimed at unlocking this further. OpenRig is early. Some parts are pretty sharp. Some parts are weird. My personal setup is still closer to like a Formula F1 race car that I built and I also have to maintain. But the primitive, well, that feels real. If you are already deep into coding agents and you have had a team set up like this that worked so well, you wish you could save it and bring it back whenever you want, this is definitely for you. The project is at openrig.dev. The GitHub link is there too. Build a rig, push it too far, and then show me what you find.